everyone, I'm Jasmine Bino, and welcome back to Podcasting to Learn.
And I'm Joey Jensen. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have brought along Kate Brunn with me, our chapter, what is it now?
Treasurer.
Chapter Treasurer. Sorry, I always forget that one. Today I would like to talk to you guys about CDEs and what those are and give you just kind of some basic examples of CDEs that we know of in our state and that we do in our chapter. So a CDE is a career development event, and these events are basically like our hands-on events in FFA, and you partake in them at the state level, so you're competing against kind of all other high schools or all other chapters in the state that do those competitions, and you start at basically the state level, and you can, if you win state finals, you can go to the national level and beyond. And like I said, these are like our hands-on competitions, and they can have to do with livestock, the trades, actual farming itself, and a whole ton of topics. So a few examples we want to talk to you guys about today are, I want to start off with ag mechanics. So this is a competition that I personally do and have done for the last 3 years. And it is basically kind of like all trade skills combined into one competition. So you do a little bit of welding, a little bit of electrical wiring, a little bit of plumbing, woodworking, a little bit of like any trade that you could possibly imagine in the world is in that competition. And then there's strictly just an ag welding competition that there also is in the state. So this, you do different types of welding like MIG, arc, oxy-fuel, and you take tests on welding. So it's basically kind of all types of welding in one competition. The small engines competition in our state consists of basically like teams will get a compact engine or a smaller engine, and there'll be something like a bug with it, there'll be something wrong with it, and their job is under a certain time limit to identify the problem, fix it, and reassemble the engine and make sure it starts within that certain time period. And another kind of, I guess you could say, trade related or kind of hands-on related one is the farm power competition. And this is where students basically take a test on like tractors and other farm equipment, and then part of that competition is also driving the equipment. So they could have to drive a certain tractor, a certain piece of equipment through a course, or load a trailer with a skid steer or something like that, or even back a trailer through a certain course, and they get tested on that. That's kind of what I have for the more tradey or hands-on ones. So Kate, can you explain some of our other competitions that we have real quick?
So I know more about the livestock side of it. So I personally did dairy judging for the last 3 years, and dairy judging is normally you have between 4 and 6 different classes of different age dairy cattle, from cows to heifers to anything else like that. And you have about between 12 and 18 minutes to judge your animals and place them, along with taking notes on what you think about each animal. And then after you go through all the classes, you will have, normally it's between 5 to 15 minutes per class that you have reasons on, that you then have to memorize and recite to a judge. And then you are graded technically on a scale of 0 to 50 on how they think that you placed and judged and explained your reasoning for placing the classes that way. And then there's also livestock, which is pretty much the same thing, but instead of just dairy cattle, it is both market and breeding for goats, sheep, pigs, and beef cattle. And then you also have to do reasonings for those as well. And then there's meat judging, that you basically walk through a cold room and you judge the condition of different cuts of meat from different animals. And then there's milk judging, which is you taste the product that would come from the dairy cattle, and you judge what is correct with them, what is wrong with them, and what you may think be contaminating it. And then there's also poultry judging, that I'm not fully sure on all of it or the logistics of it. I have not personally done it, but it's pretty much the same as livestock. And then Joey, you want to take it away on the other parts of it?
Yeah, so some of the other ones that we've kind of learned about that we have some knowledge on that we do is viticulture, which is kind of like, I believe, like kind of all plants and kind of sustainability as like a whole competition and test and things like that. And then floriculture, which is obviously it's about flowers, but basically it's like making bouquets and different arrangements and things like that, and knowing like different combinations of flowers, what looks good and what doesn't. And then vine pruning, which has kind of been a competition on the rise, especially in California, which is it is vine pruning. It's you basically go look at a vineyard and take tests and reasons about that, and even I believe get like hands-on experience and get tested on like how to take care of grapevines and what you would actually do in certain scenarios. And then farm business management is a pretty popular competition as well, and that is like, that could be anything from start to finish on a farm. So farm business management could include, actually working in the field and growing crops or raising animals, to going to where do I send them now, like sending them from your farm to a processor or things like that, and then getting it to a grocery store and even to a table. So it's literally a competition of farm to table. So it's like, it could be like a little bit of anything if you were basically like a ranch owner. And then the marketing competition is basically just like a portion of that. So it's just the marketing side of, you get this amount of beef or this amount of crops from here. I'm going to distribute them to these stores or whatnot. So it's literally just learning the marketing and business side of basically like in agriculture, like a farm or things like that.
And then our last few, there's BIG, which stands for Best Informed Green Hand. So a green hand is your freshman FFA members. And basically you are studying the FFA, from who the president is to whoever, like the people that founded it and all these different types of things. And then you go and take a test about the FFA, and that's what you're getting scored off of. And normally kids are studying and learning about all this stuff the entire year. And then there's Ag Communications. That is basically another test that you study for that's about ag and all these different parts of it. It's kind of a wider spectrum of marketing and everything. And then there's vet science, that you go and look at different animals and you assess them and then try to figure out what is the issue or what could have caused an issue and that type of stuff. And then there is also a thing called an LDE, which
that's like what BIG is. So BIG is an LD and a CD, which is what we're trying to get at. But to go a little deeper, like you basically explained the vet science for what it is, but it's basically, like you said, assessing an animal and then what would be the right way to fix the problem and take further steps. These are kind of most of the competitions that we have in our state and that we have knowledge, or have some basic knowledge of, you could say. But there's obviously a wider spectrum of these kind of competitions depending on what state you're in, what area you're from, and what you do. So like I said, these are just basic ones from our state of California, but there's a whole spectrum of CDEs that are different and also exactly the same around the different states, and each state has like different rules and different parts of competitions even for these contests. So CDEs are a pretty cool way for members and students to get hands-on learning in a competition and actually kind of like experience what could happen in the real world outside of a classroom.
Also, even if you're not even planning on going into that said field, I know that for me, I did dairy judging just for the fun of it, and it was very interesting to learn about a different area in our local ag in California and Petaluma. And I think it's a great experience to go and do some of these, and just even if it's not even going to go into something in your future, just the fact of going and learning these different things and getting these hands-on skills is amazing in my own opinion.
Yeah, definitely doing these competitions has been my favorite part of FFA, and traveling the state during the spring and just going with your friends and your coaches and just getting like the hands-on experience and having a good time.
Thank you guys so much.